And we're live here on YouTube. I got it right this week. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land and also my buddy Rich. Rich, how are you doing this week, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. A little tired as I'm usually not up this late at night.
You and me both,
But
brother.
yeah, normally not up this late at night, but I'm off tomorrow. So at least I'm looking forward to getting the sleep in and as we also to finish packing up for our vacation as we gotta leave. Yeah, so we can, but thankfully we don't have to leave till like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So to go down to Canton, Illinois.
Hey. So, remind me the question I want to ask you later.
I will try and remember, Mike.
I
So
don't-
how was your
I don't
week,
wanna,
Mike?
I don't want to.
You
I don't
had
want to
a-
air dirty laundry on here while we're on the air, but I'll ask it later.
Okay. So, Mike, how has your week been? Trying to.
So, daughter was sick the other day, and while she was sick, I ended up. So I took the day off, and so ended up having to go into work anyway. And then got some really cool socks. Put in 14 hours yesterday. Gonna put in 15 hours tomorrow. I will still have extra hours and have not worked one whole day. Have like all but 2 hours off on a day.
Hmm.
So
That is crazy. So, Mike, when did you? Is there an end in sight to all these extra hours and long days?
yes,
Yes.
100% yes. Tomorrow. I should be able to. Tomorrow should be the start of the slowdown. I have a 3-day weekend. I'm going to enjoy my 3-day weekend. I hope you guys enjoy your 3-day weekend. Kick it off right by joining us here. But no, it is tomorrow. After tomorrow, I'll get to relax Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then it's going to be like every other week for the next 8 weeks. And then we're done with football season, and then it will slow down a bit for me. So we will have esports, by the way, esports segment at the end of the show.
Okay. So good deal. So Mike, we got a little bit of a show to do here on a late night version. We're gonna be going into the NASCAR corner as we got to talk about the race at Daytona last week with a historic win.
Yeah.
By a rookie, and give a playoff standing updates as it's going to be the last race of the regular season at the track Too Hard to Tame, Darlington, as well as we got some news for drivers next season and some tracks
stuff to talk about. Great stuff to talk about.
Mike, what else we going to be wrapping up the show with this week?
We have. Did you say baseball?
I did not.
And NFL, and then we have a few good shout outs and esports, like I said. But Rich, before we do all that, what's it time to do?
Mike, why don't you go ahead and roll that intro?
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And we're back. Okay, Rich, before we get into all that, we do have a poll question that we got to talk over this week, and when we do, I think it was breakfast casserole versus sausage breakfast burrito, right?
Yes, it was. So
we had
Mike,
6 votes. So we did have 6 votes. So
Okay.
I'm going to say this is a valid poll.
All right. As long as it's got more than 2 votes, Mike, I think it's a valid poll.
I think so.
As long as more than just us vote.
Yep.
All right, Mike. So I went with breakfast casserole. I always remember that was like a treat on Easter, whether it was something that my mom made up for breakfast or going to the a church / like community breakfast.
Yeah,
There was
church
always a
potlucks.
breakfast casserole.
Church potlucks always had breakfast casseroles. You'd be eating at like 1 o'clock, and there's still somebody brought a breakfast casserole. I don't know why, but it's always there. It was my pick too. Sausage breakfast burrito just doesn't do it for me. But it apparently does for Mark Malloy, who voted for it. But 5 people voted for breakfast casserole: Sue Hart, Jason Flanker, Craig Johnson, me, and you. Thanks for all those that voted. If you want to participate in the poll questions, which, Rich, what is this week's poll question?
This week's poll question, we're going back to the cereal side of the bracket, and we will be doing Honey Smacks versus Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries.
I still don't know how Honey Smacks made it past the first round.
It did. I'd have to pull up what its matchup was against.
It's not that big of a deal. I don't understand.
But yeah, but Honey Smacks did make it past the first round.
I think a bunch of you old people were voting, and thank you for voting anyway. But
yes, Mike, Honey Smacks beat out Tricks.
That's old people, because remember, Tricks are for kids. That's why it didn't win. Because only kids can see the shapes. Do you see the shapes, Rich?
No, I don't. So this will be our final matchup on cereal. So the next time we visit cereal in 2 weeks, they'll be in round number 3 for cereal.
Round number 3. I didn't realize we were. I mean, this has been going on for a while, but I love it. People have been enjoying it, so it's been great. Rich, if they want to participate, where should they do that at?
Look for it on our Facebook pages, Fans of Balls and Sticks, Balls and Sticks, as well as Mike and I's social medias, as we try and remember to share the post. If you vote on it, make sure to hit the share button and spread it.
Yeah.
Put it on your socials as well.
Help us get it out there.
All right, Mike. Do you see what's coming up next?
Is it a left turn, Rich?
It is a left-hand turn, Mike. And what's after that?
Is it another left-hand turn, Rich?
It is, Mike, and tell them why.
'Cause we're heading into the NASCAR Corner, presented as always by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois. Check them out for all your sports memorabilia needs on 5th Avenue in Moline or on their eBay store. Once again, that is Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Last week we were at the Coke Zero Sugar 400 at Daytona. Your winner, Harrison Burton. Harrison Burton getting his first win, and only the second time in history that a father has announced his son winning a race.
Yeah, I did not realize that part. And it was also a historic win for the Wood Brothers, as it was win number 100 for the organization.
By the way, do you know the last time that a family member called the first win for another family member?
I do not. Who was it?
This is a hard one. It was Darrell Waltrip announcing Michael Waltrip winning the Daytona 500 the day Dale Earnhardt Sr. died.
All right. So with that win, Harrison Burton jumped from 34th in the point standings all the way up to number 13.
You know what he didn't have to do to do that?
He didn't have to wreck somebody out.
He didn't have to wreck anybody out. Good job, Harrison Burton.
Yeah,
you get a thumbs up.
Yeah, it's bittersweet because that totally threw off
everything we were hoping for.
Yeah, everything we were hoping for the playoff standings, as it means that Bubba Wallace and Ross Chastain almost have to win and probably won't be able to get in on points with Darlington. But that's why NASCAR put Daytona so late into the season, because anything can happen, and you can have a random winner like a Harrison Burton, who's probably, wouldn't you say, Mike? I don't have time to look up all of his finishes, but
he is not a top. He's not. I mean,
has he never been a top 15 driver?
He's in the middle of the pack, so he's from like 12th to like 22nd, maybe 28th.
Well, yeah, I mean, if anything, good for Hart, good for Harrison getting the first career win, and it also could help him get
Get a
maybe
ride.
even get a full-time ride for next year
Yeah.
because he's known for like 3 weeks that he's not going to be back with the Wood brothers
Yeah.
as Josh Berry's going to be taking that ride.
Things I love about the storyline there, though. The players, or the whole team, knew. The team's coming back. The team is already looking forward to next year and what that's going to look like. But that doesn't keep them from being professional and putting him in the best spot to win a race. I love it.
All right, our drivers, Mike Bubba Wallace finished 6th. My picker Ross Chastain finished 12th. Going into the final regular season race, Mike, you have a 16-14 advantage.
You need a
if
win,
I want to
Rich.
tie, I need to win.
Okay. Rich, we are going to the Cookout Southern 500 at the track. Too tough to tame. As we're heading into Darlington.
That's right. Before we review how our picks for the race, let's look at the playoff standings. Your 13 drivers automatically into the playoffs without having to worry about how they do at Darlington are in order 1 to 13. Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr. I didn't give them in that order. Sorry. Logano, Cindric, Suarez, Bowman, and then Harrison Burton. In on points right now and above the cut line are Martin Truex Jr., who is 58 points above the line, Ty Gibbs at 39, and Chris Buescher at 21 over. Bubba Wallace is 21 points below the line, Ross Chastain 27, and a guy that could be relevant this week, Mike, Kyle Busch, 106 points below the cutoff line.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that man has not missed the playoffs, and so if he wants in, he's got to make a win. I'm gonna pick him.
Okay.
I got two options. One, he wins the race, and I look like a genius. Two, the curse continues, and guess what? He doesn't make the playoffs.
All right, so Mike, I'm gonna go with my pick to win the entire thing that I made at the beginning of the regular season before the Daytona 500. I'm gonna go with Willie B. He's got a good track record here at Darlington, so I'm gonna go Willie B. Although I will be rooting for Ross Chastain to win that race, but also rooting against Wallace, Ty Gibbs, and Buescher so he can somehow still make it in on points.
Yep.
All right, Mike. So we had some news come out of NASCAR this week with
A lot of
drivers.
news came out, by the way. I don't know if you
Yeah.
caught the latest today in the. Let's start with something we already kind of hinted at. Let's do that first. Austin Dillon's penalty of not getting into the playoffs has been upheld. So if he wants in, he has to win this week.
Yep. The victory flag sticker still stays on his car, being the race winner. But if he wants into the playoffs, he will have to win this week in Darlington.
I got an odd question, Rich, and this is
Okay.
just a super short sidetrack.
Sure.
If he wins,
Mm-hmm.
should they let him? That gets him into the playoffs. Should they give him that second win for the extra points?
He'd already be in the hole pretty bad because his penalty of not only because they also got docked points for owners points and
Car
driver
points.
points,
Yeah.
car point manufacturer points too. It wasn't just we're still going to let you be in the record books as the winner of the race, but it's not going to get you into the playoffs, and we're going to dock your organization points along the way. So even if he got the point for being a winner, an extra playoff point, he's already in the hole, even if he makes the playoffs.
Yep.
But if he wins, that means it could be a lot easier for other teams to advance on points alone.
Yep.
All
Okay.
right.
Back at it.
So, two drivers will be coming up to Cup Series full time in 2025 as Shane Van Gisbergen, to really no surprise, is going to be running with Trackhouse full time. But the surprise on my end, Mike, I saw is that they're bringing back, or they got permission to have him drive the 88 car.
Yep.
I was expecting it to be the 91 myself, since they already had that, since they already run that number and have it.
It's the number he wanted. Go out and get it. That's what it was. So we'll see how that goes.
All right, and the number 16 car at Kaulig Racing will no longer be a platoon ride with a mystery person in the seat every single week. It's now going to be back to AJ Allmendinger full time.
Yep.
So what do you think of both drivers coming up to, for in Van Gisbergen's case, being in Cup full time and AJ Allmendinger coming back full time?
I think they both deserved it. I think they've both earned it. Van Gisbergen has done well in the oval tracks he's raced, and he's done well. He does great on the road courses. I'm all for it. I love it. I don't want. Denny Hamlin will still be my favorite driver, but a close second is going to be Van Gisbergen. And by the way, Denny Hamlin, his attitude really does make me not like him a bit, which makes me sad. He's going full heel on it, and I don't like it. But I like it. I'm happy for both. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I figured Van Gisbergen would probably be coming up full time. A little surprised with Allmendinger coming back to full time after, whether it was him saying I just want to do Xfinity and have a lighter schedule, or the organization saying, well, we want to use the 16 to get more drivers, to kind of spread out who we decide to drive, who we decide to be in the car full time.
Yep.
But yeah, Allmendinger's a veteran of the sport, so it doesn't bother me that he's back full time. And both those guys are good at road courses, Mike. And it was announced that there's going to be a new road course on the 2025 schedule, as they will be going to Mexico in 2025.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Again, I do like that for these two guys, because they raced in the it's not the Busch series anymore, is it? I don't know. What's the second?
They did the
Xfinity.
the
And
Xfinity
has raced down there the last couple years, so I'm happy for that. Speaking of next year, we got some things we want to point out. You did point out that Mexico race. How about Atlanta, Chicago, Sonoma, Dover, and Indianapolis?
Yeah,
an in-season tournament in the NASCAR.
Yeah, if it brings more eyes to the sport and a different way to kind of present those races, why not? Let's see how it goes.
Well, you got essentially a super speedway, a road course, Dover, a short track, and then Indianapolis. I don't know. It's hard for me.
We'll see how it goes. On the schedule, I guess one big change that we'll probably talk about it again, bring it right back up when we get ready to talk NASCAR again after we take a break from it during the NASCAR off season. But this year, you're going to have to pay a little bit more attention to what channel the race is going to be on, as next year you're going to have Fox Sports, FS1, TNT, Amazon Prime, NBC,
USA.
and the USA networks. That's 6 different networks that a particular race can be on.
Yeah. We're going to have to make sure we tell people where to watch it because otherwise nobody's going to know.
So, I don't know. I mean, I know it's never going to happen, but I would love I like the Fox coverage because
99%.
99, at least 8 out of most of the time they don't hide their races
Nope.
on FS1. They air
Nope.
them on over the air Fox.
And NASCAR has been good about that for years. I love it. I agree. Okay. Another notable note: August 3rd is the Iowa race.
Yeah,
Rich, they
so
gotta quit putting them around dates that mean something to my family.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been able to slip away for Father's Day.
Father's Day, what didn't happen this year, and then August 3rd is right. That's the week of my wife's birthday. She doesn't want to go to a NASCAR race for that weekend.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get it. You know when that race would be great? Early September.
But then you're getting into early September. That puts the Iowa track in the playoffs.
Okay.
And I don't know if they would put a playoff race in Iowa. Now they're putting it in the St. Louis suburbs.
Yeah.
Because the Gateway is going to be in the first round of the playoffs on September 7th next year for the Labor Day weekend.
Yeah,
playoff
first
race.
round, second race of the
Second round, yeah.
Second
Not Labor
race.
Day weekend, actually.
No, it is Oh no, you're right. It is. Oh man, Labor Day.
So
is
the
gonna
week
be
after.
The first.
So
Wow.
I just don't think with Iowa,
And
I don't know if Iowa's a big enough market to put a playoff race in. In my opinion, I know as a native Iowan and a bigger NASCAR fan than I am, you probably would say no. Iowa's a great race, great place.
I can understand your hesitancy. I think personally, you could take out. Don't do the. They're doing the Charlotte Roval again.
Well, the race is going to be there would have to be a playoff race in Charlotte. It's just whether it's going to be
Right.
a road course or
Don't
the
do the
oval.
Roval. I don't like the Roval. Doesn't need to be the Roval. You don't need the Roval. Anyway, with that, any other races that you want to highlight? How about the fact that next year Daytona and Darlington same weekend, so it's going to be Labor Day weekend for Darlington, but this year or next year they are pushing it back to the playoffs.
Well, yeah. Well, they had to adjust it this year because of the Olympic break that they had.
Yeah.
But Mike, they are bringing back a scheduled break in the middle of this season, as they will not have a race on Easter this year.
Oh, good.
As the drivers will get a week off.
They used to also always get Mother's Day was a day that they didn't race. Ever. That used to be a non-thing. Like, you never had people racing in NASCAR on Mother's Day. That was give moms a day off. But apparently we don't do that anymore in NASCAR. It looks to be a great. I love the schedule. I think it looks great. I just think, is there anything more pretty than Iowa in early September? Now the hard part is all your farmers that want to go to the race have to be out in the fields those weekends. So I get it, but okay. Anything else in the NASCAR schedule that you want to talk about, or anything else before we head out of the NASCAR corner?
I do not. So
Rich,
that was the NASCAR corner presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated, Moline, Illinois, down on 5th Avenue, and you can also find them on eBay. So, Mike, going from the concrete oval to the baseball diamond, the Cubbies had 5 games from show to show, 2 with the Marlins, 3 with the Pirates.
Yeah. They finished our week above 500 for the first time in months.
This is the second week in a row they finished above 500, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they
Okay. Yeah.
finished
Yeah. Yeah.
4-1 this week, Mike. You said they'd only win 3 games.
No,
I
no, no.
said they would win 4.
Had they gotten their overall standings over 500 last week? I thought it was this week that they got above 500.
Oh, I'm talking. I thought you were meant from show to show.
No,
They
no,
finished
no.
above 500.
No.
My apologies.
No, I meant their standings above 500.
Their current standing is 68 and 66. They're 2 games over 500.
Okay. We will
But you
next
can do
week.
that when you're playing against bad teams.
Okay. So Rich, I am trying to keep this show tight this week because
Yep.
I only got like 3 hours of sleep last night. And yesterday I put in a 14-hour day. Tomorrow I have to put in a 15-hour day. So I need to get out of here as quickly as possible. So with that being said, next week we will give you a standings update. Normally we like to do it Labor Day weekend. Labor Day is a perfect weekend to do it. And we're not this weekend, but we will next week. First full weekend of September. Just as good. So, Rich,
Yes.
3 with the Pirates, 3 with the Nationals, 3 with the Pirates, 1 with the Yankees. I think they can get above 500 on this.
Yeah. So I agree, and I'm going to keep the good times running, good times rolling, and I'm going to give them 5 wins. The Nats are doing terrible. We just beat up on the Pirates, and so hopefully we can get those 5 wins before the Yankees come into town, because that's going to be a tough series.
Yeah.
New York
The hard
Yankees.
part is that the 2 teams that we need to lose are playing each other a lot this week, so that's going to hurt us.
Yeah. The Cardinals and the Brewers play each other, so we need the win at the same time while we're playing lesser teams, so that as those 2 teams are beating up on each other, or if you're winning, you can actually root for the Cardinals to beat the Brewers so that you can also move up in the standings.
Ain't never going to happen.
Or at least not be upset.
Rich.
Or at least not be upset if the Cardinals do beat up on the Brewers.
I don't care if it's the last game of the year and I need the Cardinals to win in order for the Cubs to make the playoffs. I don't know that I will ever root for the Cardinals.
So even if it means that we get the division and we need the Cardinals to beat the division leading team so we can secure the division.
So if the last game of you're saying if the last game of the year we're tied with the Brewers, we go in, we'll say we have the tiebreaker.
Yep.
So only thing we need to win the division. Doesn't matter if anything else. We just need the Cardinals to win.
Yep, that's not a scenario that'll happen this year, because unfortunately the
I'm just saying.
Brewers don't. But yeah, if we needed the Cardinals to win to secure us a playoff spot, and we did our part by winning, I would be rooting for the Cardinals. Yes.
Is there a way for me to root for the Cardinals not to win, but the other team to lose?
Yeah, in that scenario. But if it was Cubs Brewer, it was Brewers Cardinals, and you needed the Brewers to win. If you needed the Brewers to lose,
if I need the Brewers to win, I'm cheering for the Brewers.
Oh yeah.
I will cheer for the Brewers. I will cheer for the Padres. I will cheer for anybody but the Rich, I hate the Cardinals. Almost as bad as I hate that team that plays in Houston. Almost. They're not that bad. By the way, there you go. Okay.
Cardinals and the Houston baseball team.
See, I knew you were going to do that. And I can't be cheering for lightning to strike and everybody falls down.
No, and you can't be rooting for a suspended game or a tie.
I think I'm gonna be cheering for a stiff drink.
Okay.
A tie's the only good outcome on that one because they both lose. But yeah, okay.
All right. So a good week for the Cubs get some easy competition
Yep.
at the beginning of the week. Next week could be gets a lot tougher. We got the Yankees and the Dodgers. Dames hits the Yankees and the Dodgers, so hopefully we can win these ball games against the Bucks and Nats,
Yep.
and can pad our numbers before we get some tough competition next week. But that's next week's discussion, Mike. To wrap up our baseball coverage today, Mike, Danny Jansen made history. Can you believe that the situation that unfolded for the catcher had never happened in baseball history?
I that is crazy. And then the story right below it that happened. I don't understand how this works.
Yeah. So the situation with Danny Jansen is that the Blue Jays and the Red Sox were playing a game that got suspended on
Yeah.
July 27th.
Yep.
About a month after the game between the two teams was suspended in the second inning because of severe weather in at Fenway. Jansen was in the Blue Jays lineup that night and was set for the first at bat before the game was called and announced as a split doubleheader on Monday, the 26th. So Danny Jansen gets traded to the Boston Red Sox, and because he was in the starting lineup for the Red Sox, he has the designation of being the first player to ever play for two teams technically in the same game.
In the same regular season game.
Okay.
Because we both know, because we watched it happen, Will Ferrell got traded for a bag of peanuts mid-game to the Cubs and played for both teams.
You are correct. With that being a spring training game, yes.
But first regular season. How about? And again, I'm looking at this and this doesn't make sense. But according to the NBC or ESPN news services on the page, if you scroll down from that link that you sent, Rich Hill pitches for the Boston Red Sox. Rich Hill, by the way, making it for the 20th season in the major leagues.
Yeah, if you read further down, I guess he became the oldest player to appear in a major league game since the Mariners' Ichiro Suzuki at 45, and the oldest pitcher since the Rangers' Bartolo Colon in 2018, when he was 45 years old.
Yeah, I love it. Man, it was great seeing him play for the Cubs. That was awesome. Man, yeah.
Yeah,
but
crazy
I don't
to think that he's still in the game.
Did you realize that he was still in the game?
I think I had heard that he was auditioning or he was making himself available to see if he could catch on and play get another credit for a year in the majors. I would have never thought. I didn't think. I thought he'd been out of the game for a couple of years.
But the
now.
fact that it's been consecutive seasons since he came up as a Cub in 2005. He has pitched every year since. That's amazing. I didn't know that was his nickname. Very colorful nickname. Not gonna say it on air. I'll put it in the doc. But yeah, that's cool to see. Two great stories coming out of Boston this week. How about that?
All right. So, Mike, anything else in the world of baseball before we go into what'll be kind of our last week of the NFL preview? Because next week, when we come together again and go back on the air, it'll be the regular season.
Now, Rich, one thing we didn't end up doing, we didn't give the people a NFC and AFC championship game. Do you want to do that off the cuff, or do you want to just skip it and give the Super Bowl?
I will go with just a Super Bowl
Okay.
this year.
Okay. I can agree with that. That's fine. By the way, did you see this? That's his nickname.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Man, we get to, by the way, so we're going into the NFL preview. We get to predict actual games, Rich.
We do, as we got 2 games that are going to happen before we go on air
Rich.
next week.
Rich. Last weekend for the next 23 weekends that there will not be NFL football on TV. The next time we don't have NFL football on a week is the bye week between the championship games and the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, technically you have the Pro Bowl if you want to watch that, but nobody watches the Pro Bowl.
You mean flag football? Because that's not a game.
Yeah.
Ooh, that reminds me. With the Olympics looking at having flag football, how about this for crazy concept?
Do you take the Pro Bowl? Do you take the U.S. national team and play them against a group of?
Rich, this is why I love you. You take the Pro Bowl, the guys that make the Pro Bowl. You have them play flag football against the U.S. men's national flag football team. Why not?
That could make the Pro Bowl a little bit more watchable. And
I guarantee you I would watch that. I would watch that. No, I probably wouldn't. But I would think about watching that.
All right, Mike. So we're just doing a Super Bowl prediction this year. We won't go into a conference championship game weekend, conference championship preview. If you missed last week's show, I'll do a quick rundown of who we thought would make the playoffs.
So
on
Rich,
the NFC side, Mike.
NFC, we both picked the Eagles, Lions, Falcons, and 49ers to win the divisions respectively. And then we both said that the Cowboys and the Packers would make the playoffs. You said the Rams, I said the Seahawks.
All right. Over in the AFC, we kind of differed a little bit. I said the Dolphins in the East, you said the Bills. The North, you gave it to the Bengals, I gave it to the Ravens. We both put the Texans for the South and the Chiefs in the West. Our wild card teams, we both put the Jets in as a wild card, while you put the Ravens and the Dolphins as wild cards. Well, I went with the Browns and the Bengals.
So out of those teams, Rich, I am going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs over the Detroit Lions.
All right. Any reasoning for that, Mike? Or what's your train of thought?
The best team in the NFL improved in the offseason. They're the best team in the NFL. How can you take the best team in the NFL, improve it, and not expect them to still be the best team in the NFL? And then the Lions, man, Dan Campbell's got me ready to run. I'm ready to run through the brick walls in my house just for Dan Campbell. So, there you go.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I'm gonna go with the Lions as well, but I'm gonna have them winning the game.
Okay.
And I'm going to
that's
have
a
them
brave
beating
move.
the Baltimore Ravens. If anything, it's a matchup that I want to see, maybe not a matchup that's going to happen.
I want to see that. I want to see that matchup. By the way, Rich, quick comment about that, about all of it.
Okay.
How great would it be if the Lions win the Super Bowl after letting Matt Stafford go?
That was like 4 years ago, letting Matt Stafford go, but letting
Matt Stafford go to the Rams, who everybody's like, oh, they're going to win the next 5.
They won 1.
They won 1, and Matt Stafford has not been the player he was in Detroit. How crazy is that? To think that he was that crazy good in Detroit, and yet even with the great mind of McVay not doing anything. So, okay, I like those picks. Rich, you do ask for coaches on the hot seat outside of Matt Eberflus because, I think he should have been fired last year, and I think if they don't have a great year, I mean, honestly, are we wrong that if they have a failure of a year, he has to be on the hot seat, right?
I would agree.
So
I can agree with that. Is that if they don't meet expectations, whatever that is, I think expectations for the Bears are different for everybody.
I think that
he's probably on the hot seat.
I think if they're not in playoff contention at minimum, he's on the hot seat. I think personally, if they don't win a playoff game, he should be on the hot. I mean, I think he should have been fired. But anyway, I'm actually going to say Sean McVay.
Oh, I don't know if I agree with you on that. But
what has he done? What has he done in the last 4 years? He's won one Super Bowl. His team has gotten less and less relevant since they won the Super Bowl. Every year since. He should be on the hot seat.
You see, I don't agree with McVay being on the hot seat. I think that there's that much goodwill, and he's got such a good relationship with the front office that I think if he's not coaching the Rams, I think it's going to be because he steps down from the role to take a break from coaching or to go into broadcasting. I don't think it's a thing if he gets fired.
I don't think you're wrong, but I don't see that he's done anything for the team in the last 3 years. And if I'm ownership and I'm looking at it, you put together, you worked with us to put this team together. We won one Super Bowl, and that's all we've done since. Rich, we moved to L.A. The Rams moved to L.A. If you're not winning in L.A., you're not going to get people to come to your matches, to come to your games. You got to start. You got to be a winning team. Now, I don't think here's the thing. I don't think he ends up on the hot seat because, again, as we just said, I think they win. I think they make the playoffs. But I think he should be on the hot seat if they don't. So that's kind of where I'm at.
For me, with when it comes to McVay, I think he's already lost his best defensive player in Aaron Darnold. But I think it could come down to him and Stafford. And probably Kupp are almost walk away together. Because there's no... If Stafford goes down, your quarterback is Jimmy Garoppolo. Or if he retires, there's no They haven't
Bill Belichick thought he was...
They haven't done a good job of planning for the future in LA.
Here's my prediction. If Matthew Stafford goes down, and that whole thing happens, does he let the team play as terribly as they can so they can get the hope to get that number 1 overall pick so that they can get that generational quarterback, bring Matthew Stafford back for 1 year, let him be above this kid, let him have his comeback year, get comeback player of the year, boom, move forward right into, hey, it's your second year, let's go.
Yeah, well, I think LA would be a market that Coach Prime would let his son go into. Shedeur Sanders is probably going to be that top quarterback prospect.
Is he, though?
I I don't know. I don't watch much Colorado football, but
Is he though?
to really know.
Okay.
Um,
Speaking of which, they're playing right now, aren't they?
I don't know. I don't really follow college ball, unfortunately. But two kind of hot seats that really step out to me is New Orleans with Dennis Allen. That team is I know I almost seems like this is the third year in a row I've said it, but this is a team that just needs to
Yeah.
stop contending for just needs to embrace a rebuild and reset that roster. And Dennis Allen just hasn't been able.
Yeah.
Dennis Allen's been delivering mediocre results, but or they're
No,
contending for a playoff spot
I'm
because
gonna
of a bad division.
I'm gonna push you off on that. I'm gonna say
Okay.
he's doing the best that he can do with the roster he's being given. I don't think he it looks like mediocre results, but look at the roster that they've had. I don't think they've had enough of a roster that I would say that they shouldn't be. That what he's done hasn't been great in comparison. They haven't put anybody. They haven't given him anybody to work with. I'm all for it, but I would agree. I think they need to fully embrace the rebuild, and with a coach that's doing what he's doing, you're never going to get there. So, I'm on board.
And
with
the other
that.
guy, Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia, the way that he did not handle that slide that the Eagles went to at the end of the regular season, and his response to it all. When the reporters were asking, "So what are you going to do to fix the problem?" It's like, well, if I knew what the problem was, I'd fix it.
I mean,
That's not a good answer to make when you're trying to find answers to kind of fix the team and get the team back on track. To say, if I knew what the problem was, I'd fix it.
yeah, I can.
And the fact that the front office stepped in, overstepped, and hired his defensive coordinator and his offensive coordinator,
Yeah,
not a good sign. And I think in Philadelphia, the front office wins. So if Sirianni's Eagles don't win the division or go deep into the playoffs, I can see, or if they have another bump in the road where they're on a long losing streak, I could see Nick Sirianni not retain next year.
yeah, I can agree with Nick. The problem is, again, they're one of those teams that finds a way to be a decent and contending team. I mean, could you argue that Mike McCarthy, like, no, not Mike McCarthy,
Mike Tomlin?
Mike Tomlin, if there is Pittsburgh waiting for Mike Tomlin to be sub 500 for them to fire him? Is that
I almost think with Mike Tomlin, it would be more of a mutual parting of ways. Like it's time for a new voice. It's time for me to move on and for the Steelers to get a new voice, and I'm not going to stand in the way of
he
that.
has a 621 winning percentage.
Never finished below 500
Like,
as a coach of the Steelers.
how do you not love this guy?
And the thing is, the Steelers just don't fire football coaches.
They don't.
They resign.
They don't.
They resign or retire. Bill Cowher, Chuck Noll, and now Mike Tomlin could be in that position where they're resigning or retiring.
He's been their head coach since 2007, Rich. Like, we've both met women, married them, moved away from the Quad Cities in that time frame. Smartphones became a thing and became popular, and Mike Tomlin before, I mean, Netflix still sent out DVDs when Mike Tomlin was a head coach. How, like, I'm 100% happy for him. I think he deserves it. I think he legitimately is one of these guys that really does deserve to be there.
And probably stay there for as long as the team will have him.
Here's the thing I don't want. And I don't think Tomlin's there yet, but I don't want what happened to Bill Belichick to happen to Tomlin. He overstays his welcome. He does things that are like, I think the guy deserves, man, I think so much better. So
Yeah, but those four names, and maybe even Mike Tomlin. I mean, I think we disagree on McVay, but I can see your reasoning of LA needing to stay relevant and say, well, making the playoffs or being in contention for the playoffs isn't good enough. We need to win. And replacing McVay, or at least putting some pressure on him to change his coaching staff instead of promoting from within, maybe bringing in some people from the outside to supplement his staff. But I really, with a lot of head coaching jobs changing from last year, and
there's not a lot.
there's not a lot of hot seats. I think maybe you see Robert Saleh with the Jets, but it's either if they fail in the playoffs, I don't think it's going to be because of him. It's going to be because Aaron Rodgers, the age catches up to Aaron Rodgers.
So that's another thing. Have you seen that the talk of the NFL right now is that there is some hot stuff going on with Aaron Rodgers basically being in charge in New York? How crazy! Okay. I think we
imagine that with how he left Green Bay.
I think we've talked about that enough. We have two games to talk about, and we are at 52 minutes. Rich, let's go Thursday night. First Thursday night game of the year. NFL kickoff next Thursday on NBC, and then next Friday on NBC. If you're not going out to your local high school game, go check out the Eagles Packers again on NBC for kickoff.
Not exactly, Mike.
What?
That's going to be behind the paywall of Peacock.
I thought it was on both.
Peacock. No,
I thought it was on
Peacock
both.
Exclusive.
I swear they were advertising it's on both.
I've seen that it's Peacock exclusively on Peacock. But anywho, Ravens Chiefs, Mike, they're going to be raising the banner, handing out the rings. Well, they've already handed out the rings, but raising the banner. I'm sure Taylor Swift will be in attendance. Who wins that ball game, Mike?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. No hangover.
All right, I'm gonna be different than you, and I'm gonna go the Ravens. I'm intrigued by this offense that has probably one of the best running quarterbacks, best rushing threat quarterback in the league, in Lamar Jackson, and you add in Derrick Henry behind him. Yeah, he's got the threat that treads probably maybe in the yellow, probably in the yellow of
starting to see Abe Lincoln's head.
Yeah, it's still good. There's still a lot of tread on the tire, but you might want to start thinking about, might want to start planning for replacing the tires.
Yeah.
But he's still got some life left. Plenty of life left, but you might want to start planning for those tires.
It's not how many miles you got on it; it's how rough you drive it, and that was some rough times that Derrick Henry had to run through. So, I think the Chiefs pull this one off. I think they come in hyped and they play it off. Then in Brazil, Eagles, Packers. I'm going to say the Packers. I don't like saying it, but I think Packers come out and shock people to start the season. That's where I'm at.
All right, I'm going to go the Eagles. if anything, they haven't had a chance to self-implode, to self-implode, and they've used this training camp to hopefully fix the issues that plagued them at the end of the year. Oh yeah. So Mike, next week regular season coverage begins as we automatically pick the Bears game every single week, as well as we'll give you a lock of the week, an upset special, as well as give you our pick for Thursday night football in week 2. But Mike, that's next week.
That is next
Mike,
week.
Do you have any shout outs? And also we'll make sure to put up a link so you can join our NFL Pick'em group and play along with us as we pick the winners of each game. So I'll make sure to get that up on our Facebook pages, and we'll try and have it in a link for that in our show outlines when Mike posts this to the Facebook, and you can probably edit the thread on the YouTube video as well.
I can.
All right, Mike. So any shout outs?
So we do have one shout out. This is a What Did You Do shout out. Friend of the show, Matt Erickson, bowls a perfect game this week. His second perfect game of his life, as far as I can tell. So yeah, good job, Matty Erickson. So, my sister-in-law's birthday. Happy birthday, Bethany.
Okay.
My nephew's birthday. I don't remember what day, and I don't know if they put him on Facebook. They do. Happy birthday, Micah.
All right, Mike. And what's going on in the esports world, Mike?
We had our meeting today. So the reason we were late tonight is because we had esports coaches meeting that I had to set up. Next week, I believe, is week 0, and then we start matches. So look for the YouTube channel, and we'll share that YouTube channel in the link below. You can watch us on the Okoboji Esports YouTube channel for our Super Smash Brothers season starting next. The season starts next week. All that happens. It's going to be great. So with that, Rich, people want to listen to us, but they don't want to watch it. They want to do it while they're driving. How should they do that?
You know, Mike, look us up wherever you download all of any podcast for the most part. Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts are just to name a few. I think iHeart as well.
Yep.
Mike, if they're listening to us in podcast land, but they want to try and catch us live, where can they find the video? Or if they want to see the visual feed of the show, where can they find it?
You can find us on YouTube. You can actually find us also on Facebook. I'm sharing the link every week on Facebook, so you can find it. It's in the link, and if you're on our Facebook page doing the poll question, right there, you can check it out. It'll take you right to our Facebook or our YouTube channel. You can come check it out for yourself. If you want to catch us live, hit the bell, subscribe, hit the bell, do all those things so that you get notifications when it's time for us to go live. With that, Rich, what's it time to do?
Mike, go ahead and roll the outro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.